This is Tailgate Ted.
I'm Ari Meroff from PFF.
Hey guys, it's Brittany Wagner from Last Chance U.
This is Ken Harvey.
I'm NFL Jeff Prospect. Kwame Lewis.
I'm Renee Washington.
Kendall Fuller. And I'm Fred Smooth.
This is Logan Thomas.
I'm Jonathan Allen.
I'm London Fletcher, the captain.
I'm Julie Donaldson, and you are watching.
And you're watching?
And you are watching
Ref the District.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to After the Whistle here on Ref the District. I'm Nathan, that's Trev, and that's Stoner. And we've got quite the special guest for you today. Really excited. This has been a long time coming. We've had executives, we've had celebrities on this channel, and their schedule was not as packed as this person that we're having on here. She's got like 4 jobs, okay? Mm-hmm. Like it is not easy. She is a mom of 3. She's a doctorate student. She's an executive director, and you might also know her because she happens to be the wife of the Washington Commanders left tackle. Let's welcome to Ref the District, Jen Leno. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Ref the District.
Working with my schedule.
We appreciate it.
All these, like I said, these are all like their own individual job, right? Being a mom of 3, the doctorate degree that you're pursuing, being an executive director, that most of us just struggle to wake up in the morning and do one thing. You're doing all of these things. What's it like? What's a day in the life like for Jen Leno?
Oh, well, like I said, like you guys said, I have 3 kids. So we have a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So life's a little wild. But luckily, my 2 toddlers, they go to like a little preschool. So usually, we're up by a normal day, 6:15. I got lucky this week. Everyone slept into almost 8 on Monday after everything. So I was like, hey, we need more of those because I'm all about that. But we're usually up by 6:15, getting the kids ready to get off to school. I always come downstairs, pack their little backpacks, get Charles his. I feel like he's one of my kids as well. Like,
really mom of 4.
Yes, I'm like really, and I have 2 dogs, so I'm like I got a full household. I got all of their backpacks out for everyone, and their vitamins and their juice, and I'm like, here you all go, So I just add him to the mix, and then I usually get my 2 older ones off to school. I do have a nanny that comes and helps me in the mornings with the baby, and I usually get out of the house, get a workout in because I'm one of those people. I really would prefer to work out at like 5 a.m., but God forbid Charles had to wake up with the baby if she woke up before his alarm went off. So I push it back for him. And I usually try to get a workout in, and then I come home and I try to get all of my meetings done before noon. And that's when my nanny leaves. So I do all of my work related stuff up until noon. And then after that, it's schoolwork or getting the house back together and doing laundry until I go and get my other little 2. And then usually get them, start dinner, put that up, and then schoolwork at night. So,
and then recycle.
I'm tired just listening to that.
I was about to say, I think that was a full day just getting the kids out the door, and then she just kept going, and then she's just, so unbelievable and unbelievable that you made time for us 3 yahoos here. We do appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to get into a little.
For a while now to get this going, so I appreciate you guys.
No, it's all good. We appreciate you again making the time because that day is busy. You should be with a glass of wine right now.
I'm peeping some wine behind you. I'm peeping.
There we go.
Behind it.
Yeah. I'll be.
This for sure.
I'll join you afterwards here. We're going to do lightning round real quick. We're going to start this up with just a quick lightning round. These are really just nonsensical, so try to get fun, get you loosened up a little bit, right? Guys don't need to respond to these.
Right,
hot dogs or hamburgers?
Hot dogs.
Steak or chicken?
That's a hard one. I'll say chicken.
Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Bears or Commanders?
Oh,
Commanders! Why you got to do that to me?
All right. I just wanted to see. I wanted to see. Okay, you happen to be. We know that you're from the Chicago area, Bears fan. So I had to see if I could trip you up. But you can't fool them up.
I know, right?
No, that was just a little fun. I wanted to see if I, get you thinking quick and see if I couldn't trip you up and get that Bears answer.
I'm a piggyback off of that since you mentioned the Bears, Nathan. So this is about you, Jen. You're obviously more than just a wife of an NFL player, but I want to touch on that. So you said your kids are the oldest, 2 years old? Then you have a 1-year-old and a baby. This is Charles' second or third year with Washington, coming from Chicago. What's it like transitioning from a city to city? Like, I know he's a free agent, so the teams that were interested, were you like looking at houses in these different teams' area? Were you already looking at houses here? Or was it just like, I'm going to sign here? As soon as he signed, we got to look for a house. Like, how does that happen? How does it work?
So we have a really kind of unique story because I'm from Chicago where he was drafted. So we spent 7 years there, had all of our family there. We lived there year round. Like that was our home. And Charles got a blindside release. So we did not see it coming. We talked to his offensive line coach, I want to say at like 10 p.m. the night before. We found out we were getting released to get the new draft picks, phone numbers to meet up with them. So then we found out at 9 a.m. the next day that we were getting released. So it was wild. And I think, so clearly we get released. Both of us are like, what? Like, I think we both believed Charles was going to retire there. Like, that's what we thought. And so we get the call, release. And like I said, at first it was like a shock. Like, what? Then it was like anger took over. And I'm like, what? I'm like, he is, and most people know him, like the man barely ever misses a snap, knock on wood. He hasn't missed a game since he started playing, So I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, this is how you're getting repaid? But and then it was like excitement because I'm like, we've never been in this situation. Like we've never had teams like calling us and like wanting us to go there. And so we had multiple teams contact him, but they wanted him to play right tackle. And at this point in his career, he's like, I've played so long at left tackle. He's like, I'm not willing to sabotage my career to go play right tackle if I don't have to. And so Charles has always had a handful of coaches he wanted to play for. And I'm like, of course, like either Pittsburgh or wherever Rivera was, like those were two coaches he liked. And so we got the call from Washington about less than a week before I was due with our second child.
Right.
And they said, we're going to fly him out on Monday. I was getting induced on Thursday. Like, hey. But me being from Chicago and Coach Rivera being, played in Chicago, coach in Chicago. Yes. I was like, I was a big Rivera fan. So I was like, you got to go. Like, I'm like, he wanted that. I always said that was one of the coaches he wanted to play for. But, me, my Chicago connection, I'm like, that's it. I'm like, I think that's the one. So he went. And I'm like calling his agent all day. I'm like, have you heard from him? I haven't heard from him all day. Like,
let's go.
Nope. And I'm like, he's supposed to be on a flight home right now. He's definitely not. I'm like tracking his location. I'm like, he's still at the facility. Like, what is going on? He's like, they like him. Okay. So he calls me just like, they want me to stay the night. How are you feeling? I literally was contracting. I was like,
oh, wow.
I was like, I'm good. I was like, well, if you come home, are they not going to sign you? And he's like, you're contracting. I'm going to come home. So he flew in like an economy, like middle seat to get home. Like, he had like a layover in Atlanta, got back to Chicago, and by the next morning they had already made an offer. So we accepted the offer before we went to the hospital to have the baby. So like I knew beforehand that we were going to be at that time football teamers. So and I left it up to him. Wrong decision of where he's going to live. Do it. So he chose to live in beautiful, like it was wonderful if we would have been like 5 years younger with no kids. We lived in the Tysons area in an apartment on the 31st floor with 2 children and 2 dogs.
Oh, yeah. The dogs.
It's a choice.
To live in a sky rise. I was like, this is not a sky. So here I am. I'm like pushing a stroller with a baby strapped to me, holding 2 leashes, trying to take out the dogs all the time because guess who's gone all day and like after that. So, that was our journey to get here. But luckily, once we signed the new contract, I said, I am picking where we're living now. So we're purchasing a house. We're 5, maybe 10 minutes away from the facility. So it doesn't have a half-hour drive anymore. I'm like, what were you thinking? Like,
So was that process hard, or was it long, or was it like, did it just like, when did you start looking for a house?
So we signed in January, I think mid-February. We like got home because we also just purchased a home in Texas.
Yeah, I remember those tweets. Yeah.
So we sold our Illinois home, bought our dream home in Texas, literally got settled in there, and then basically had to move to Virginia. So super fast. Our purchase of our Virginia home, like all of my friends who have come and saw pictures of it or seen the inside of our house, they're like, you basically just bought the same house you were living in Illinois.
Oh, nice.
No, right? Like it is like, we're like, Charles and I are like the most like chilled, down to earth, like very like traditional. So I'm like, the house is in a neighborhood. Like it's just it looks just like our house that we had in Illinois. So we actually never came and even saw it before we purchased it. I saw it on Zillow. I called the realtor. I was like, can you post videos of this for me, please? I think this is a house I want. And in one of the videos, I heard a family saying, they're like, well, we'd like to make an offer. And I was like, you need to make the offer right now. That's the house. Like, so I was like, yeah, whatever you want. So I
the housing market in this area is cutthroat, so that's fair to jump in there and get it.
The same thing. I'm like, we purchased our house in Texas without seeing it in person too. So I'm like, you want to know what? We did it once. Let's just do it again.
You got great taste, Jen. You got great taste. You have to see anything. You just that one.
It worked out. I was like, I know what I want. I was like, I just needed a nice kitchen.
And it's not on the 31st floor of a building in Tyson's
backyard. I just let the dogs run outside.
There you go.
See? Nice. So yeah, it was a lot easier, I feel like, than a lot of my fellow NFL friends' stories because most people are just, all over the place. But I said, we lucked out because we signed a couple years here, and I'm like, okay, I'm not about to. We actually, the house we bought, I said, I hope one day that we can like literally rent it out to other players. I was like, because I'm like, so many people only want to live in a home, or I'll take that back. So many other people really only want to live where they're playing for a few months of the year, basically that playing time. But to find a fully furnished house, like it doesn't happen. So I'm like, that's why even we did the apartment last year, and I'm like, it never felt like home. I'm like, this isn't home. Like we never hung up a photo on the wall, like nothing. So I'm like, this is such a family home that I said one day I hope, once he retires, that we can rent it out for those months to players, because it truly is like a family home that someone can live in. So
I want to get a little bit into your background in that I think I've seen you compare yourself to Cheryl from Remember the Titans, right? Wasn't that the daughter of Coach Yost?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was your upbringing. So you knew probably from the time you were 10 years old that the NFL was going to be your life, and here it is. Is it kind of pre-planned in your head this whole time that this was going to be your life?
It's weird because, like I said, I started going to Bears games when I was 3. Like my grandfather was one of the longest season ticket holders in history. So like football was, it felt like it was in my blood. My dad was a football coach, and it's funny. I actually hated offensive linemen growing up. My favorite position are defensive ends. Like,
makes sense now.
And somehow I ended up with this offensive tackle, and now I'm just watching defensive ends go against him all the time. But throughout, I really, at one point in my life, I said I dated a football player in college, and I was like, I will never date an athlete again. I was like, there's no.
What position was it?
He played defensive end. Why did I say that? I'm like,
right, of course.
Okay.
So I said I would never do it again because I'm like, their schedules are ridiculous, and like I just feel like you have to like really, it's a job. Like you take care of them, and I tell people all the time, like it might sound funny, but I'm like, not everyone's built to do this. Like it's a life that people don't understand how lonely it is. There are so many amazing perks, but I'm like, this man leaves every day by 6:30. He doesn't get home till 5 at night. He barely gets to see the kids during the season, let alone me. I'm like, he gets home even last night. I'm like, could we just watch the football game, please? Like,
Mm.
so that's me. I'm really like, I tell him all the time, I can't wait till he just retires and I can just be like, actually talk about what I want to say. Cause I'm like, I have to like rein it in. Cause
Yeah.
like, I'm my best behavior. So, but no, I'm like yesterday watching games and I was like, clearly, I've always been a big Geno Smith fan. So I was just like thriving during the first half of that game. I'm like, this guy's going crazy right now. And he just laughs at me. He thinks I'm hilarious. And he's like, fine, let's watch film. So like I'm over there like looking at his film. He's like, what do you see here? You know, and I'm like, that's really what our nights are like. So I'm like, the life is it's different. I'm like, yeah, one day once he retires, but I'm like right now, I'm like, it's you know, like not for the faint of heart. Like, you know, and like that's definitely I tell people all the time, I'm like, fans can turn off the game on Sunday and if they don't want to think about it, they don't have to. I have to think about it. Like we come home and I'm like, our lives revolve around football and it's hard for it not to. Because their careers are just so short. So I'm like, a lot of people don't like that. I know people are laughing at, you know, Tom Brady and his wife right now. They're like, oh, she doesn't want him to play. I'm like, it's a lot. Like, I'm sure it's your husband. So, but it's fun. And I look at it that one day he's going to retire. And now I think he'll end up going into coaching. So I'm like, I'm probably really stuck in football forever. But, you know, like you guys.
And then
Like,
your kids coming up too, they're gonna be in football. So
I think it was I somewhere either some god or someone made sure that I was like football is going to be my life. I really wanted to be a sports agent, but I think I'm way too sensitive for all of that. So you know, I guess this was the next best thing. So.
Well, let's talk about one of those things that you got going on in your life outside of football, which is being an executive director. What is that like? You mentioned having your meetings in the morning. You know, this is, you know, that's a big undertaking to do that on top of being the mom with those 3 daughters of yours and all the things that you talked to, you know, about Charles and then also you're going for your doctorates. But let's focus on that executive director role. You know, what are you the executive director of and what is it that, you know, why is that important to you?
So we run an organization called Beyond the Entertainer. It focuses on showing that there's more to the athlete than meets the eye. So it started back in 2020 and COVID had just hit. So our original plan set this nonprofit that provided mentorship for children from underserved communities who did not get the opportunities that, you know, other children got, or more so teenagers. So, and what I mean by that is when Charles and I met, he's like, you have literally worked for like every pro team in Chicago. How? I was like, oh, I made this connection. And he's like, I never had those opportunities. So he's from Oakland, California. And I grew up in, you know, I'm like, I had a super small high school and everything. They were all about trying to make sure that, you know, we were making the connections and networking and doing this and that. And he's like, I just never got that. And I was like, I would love to be able to provide like, you know, basically these kids who want to get into sports, show them that there's more to than just the athlete. There's more than being a professional athlete, because let's be real, like that doesn't happen very often. So showing, you know, the nutritionists and the personal trainers and the athletic trainers and the, you know, front office staff and community relations and like giving them all those opportunities. But then COVID happened and we're like, wow, we can't do this in person right now. We pulled back the reins a little bit, and something that Charles and I have always been super passionate about is just paying it forward in the community. So we kicked it off with Leno Claus for the first time, and we worked with all 20 different organizations in the community, just giving back to them and helping spread awareness about their organizations, and then adopted a bunch of families. And then it kind of just started expanding from that. So we basically developed different partnerships with different other nonprofits to help spread awareness using Charles' platform. And then, so our mentorship program is kicking off for real now at the end of this year. But we have some really cool things coming up. And yes, I'm the executive director, but I also wear all the hats. Like I do everything. I don't have any staff anything with our organization. So I'm one of those people that if I have staff, that means any money I raise, I have to pay them. So I don't pull a paycheck from our foundation because I want to give it all back to the community. So that's what we're all about. So we have We actually today I had a meeting. We're going to partner up with an awesome organization out in the DMV, and start tackling world hunger. So that's our new thing.
Nice.
Love to see it.
So yeah, I was like, it's such a rewarding thing to do. But I'm all about. I think a lot of times people work in nonprofits because they want the feel good aspect of things, which is awesome. But I'm like, we want to actually make a change. Like, I'm not here just to throw money at something and say, oh, good luck. I'm like, we want to like at the end of the day, tackling world hunger. I'm like, world hunger should be something that should have already been solved. Like, the fact that it is an issue right now is ridiculous. So I'm like, being able to know that we can hopefully start to take the right steps to help, fix that problem, even if it's in a small area, is like what we're all about. So,
Thank you for doing that.
Gonna give that
That's
round of
awesome.
applause again. Yeah, that's
is
great.
awesome.
Beyond the entertainer, great things. I know you guys partnered a little bit with the hog farmers as well in some regards. Great things. Love what you're doing, and that's awesome about making sure minimal admin fees. So a lot of that money goes directly to those companies. Love to hear it.
All right, Jen, I got a question. Put you on the spot again.
oh no, what's up?
Least ideal / favorite thing about being the wife of an NFL football player.
Okay, least and okay, they kind of tie in to each other. I mean, it does. It's the same. My least favorite and my favorite. The fans.
Okay.
The fans. Like, we're in Chicago, amazing, great community, like the city's awesome, good food. Fans, for the longest time, they love Charles. And then we had one bad year in 2019 where we had 13 penalties. So, it's a rough year. And when I tell you that people literally send me death threats, I'm like,
That's
I don't
bad.
even care. I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
I'm like, people
That's
I
scary.
got with our first child, and I had somebody message me and tell me they hope that the doctor dropped my baby on their head. And I was like, because my husband had a false start. Like, what?
Oh my god.
Yeah, right.
Good Lord.
That's really sad. I'm not trying to laugh, but that's just atrocious.
Really what it comes down to. And at the time, when I was younger, it really affected me. I really took it to heart. As I've gotten older, I think it's comical. And luckily I'm Washington, knock on wood, but he's been doing great. So I'm like, fans have been amazing out here. I always laugh because I'll see fans bashing fans to one another. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm like, they're great, but I think because Chicago, I'll say every fan base has their bad apples. I'm like, I'm not saying Chicago has a bad fan base at all, because there's so many people. I can't tell you the amount of messages I get daily from Bears fans, like, we miss you guys so much, or we wish Charles was here. Like, the amount of people that asked if they could buy me a shot when we play, they're like, you're coming to the game, right? I'm like, yeah. I feel like you guys like me now more that I'm gone. No, but it's really comes down to that, because I'm like, the fans really do make the game, and I try to be just like my normal self. Like, people are just like, oh, you engage with us so much. I'm like, because I am a fan of the game too.
I was gonna say, we appreciate that, because a
a
lot of players' wives are like, they feel like they're too good to interact with the public or the fans. But
I talk about
when you,
all the time. I'm like, I think it really comes down to, maybe I'm biased, but offensive linemen are the best. So they're just the most chill.
big old teddy bears.
Exactly. So I feel like I'm like, this is us. Like, here we are. Like, I'm like, yeah, some days I have 12 loads of laundry to do, and some days I'm on top of everything. But I'm like, I'm literally a normal human being. So I tell women that all the time. I'm like, don't get so lost in your husband's identity, because once he retires, he's already going to struggle, losing your career. And, hopefully it's because he chooses to step away. But I'm like, a lot of guys have that identity crisis after, you play for so long. I'm like, you both can't lose yourselves. Who's going to keep it together? So I try to tell people that all the time and give that little piece of advice. But I'm like, but yeah, at the end of the day, fans, they're great. Sometimes they're bad, but most of the time they're great.
Yeah, so at the end of a game, this past week, when Carson Wentz was only hit 4 times, none of them by someone that Charles was blocking, right? But then he comes home, right, and he's probably riding high, man, I just had a fantastic game, we won. And then he walks in the door, and then you're like, Here's a 3-year-old. Here's a 2-year-old. Let's come back down to this level right here and get back to normal life again, right?
Oh, and, he didn't even get to get home because I take all the kids to the game with me. So
Yeah.
I called him. I said, "Can you come meet me here?" He literally pushed the stroller out of the stadium. So,
As he should.
Yeah. Good to
right?
see.
I know we get in the car and he's like, "I'm hurting this and that," and and I'm like, "All right." And one kid's throwing food this way in his face. I'm like, "I'll tell you a drink when you get home." Like, I'm like, "You?" He got home. I'm like, "No one's taking baths." I'm like, "Just go to bed."
Yeah.
So are you going to be traveling this year? Because the last couple of years, there hasn't been a whole lot of travel. Well, I assume there hasn't been a whole lot of travel. Are you going to be traveling to the away games this year?
I'm only going to Chicago as of.
That's the only one.
Yeah, it's a lot to fly with 3 kids. And
Yeah.
I can
It's a
imagine.
lot to fly with one.
I already struggle a lot on game days as it is because I watch the game. So luckily, my sister actually lives in Fairfax, which isn't too far from us. Her husband's in the Marines, so she moved out here with him just about a month ago. So she comes to the games with me now. So Auntie is on baby duty because I'm like, I have to
I
watch
got
it.
to focus.
Like, I'm one of those people. I'm like, what happened? Like literally, there was a play and Charles ended up getting tripped. So he was on the ground, right? He was like on his knee, and I'm like over here taking notes on my phone, like what happened on the second series with 3 minutes to go. Because I'm like, and then clearly I'll go back and watch film with him and see. But like I've literally like written down like what's going on. So yes, I'm a cheerleader, but oh yeah. Fans think that they're hard on players. I'm like, you ain't got nothing on me.
I was going to say.
You're additional O-line coach is what you are.
Yeah. I was going to say. Since
time. I'm like, can I come shadow Masco? Like, come on.
Because they compared you to the Titans' daughter. So I was going to say, like, are there any instances where you come home, like after a loss, is there a certain amount of minutes have to go by before you approach him to say, like, well, you could like, how's it like in the home after a loss? Yeah,
I do
the grace period?
Sandwich. So I text him after the game. I give him a good, and then I critique him, and then I finish it with a good.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
It's a win or a loss. I'm like,
nice.
I actually had a coach in Chicago at one point come and tell me that I was too hard on Charles because he must have went back. No, you're not hard enough on him. Like, you got to be hard on him.
Yeah, got to grow.
That's what he likes. Like, he'd rather have a coach that was hard on him than
right.
Like,
Yeah. You got to get that that good feedback. We can definitely Stoner and I know we can appreciate. I'm sure Trev can as well. So Stoner's retired Air Force. I'm currently active duty, about to retire. So yeah, that kind of feedback is necessary. Like, here's the good thing you did. Here's the thing we need to work on right here. But really, you did good on this as well. So you gotta sandwich that a little bit. One of the
just diaper, that's next after it. So feed the baby.
One of the other aspects it seems that you've kind of taken on is that obviously you're a mom of your children and a little bit to Charles as well, but it seems like you've kind of taken on that motherly role within the wives as well, and kind of taking care of especially some of the younger ones that are maybe new to the NFL. What's the family like as far as with the teammates and the other players and moms?
So it's funny. I've always had the nickname since college as Momma Jen. I've always taken care of. So I live with me and 2 other girls, and I was a year older than both of them. And Saturday night, and someone drank too much. Like, who was taking care of them? It was me. And I think it just really stuck with me in Chicago. It was definitely my role because I was the one that was from there. So kind of just like fell into my lap, like in Chicago, because it was like, oh, what doctor's office do we go to, or where do this, or like, what's the best restaurants, or who do I contact for that? And then I got out here and I realized that there really was no one like that here. I'm like, wait, like all teams don't have who I was there, and I was just like, this is really strange. And so I became really close with Sarah, Chase Roullier's wife. And, she's like, we've been here for 6 years. And she's like, there's just been so much turnover that she was like, there's no one that's really like that. And so me and her kind of, buddied up. And clearly I think it happened because you guys didn't know she basically delivered my 3rd child since my husband's town. So we got real close real fast, and we teamed up with each other, and even we went to the team and we're like, a lot of us that come with children to the games, we're not like, if I was going as a normal fan to a game, I am not taking a baby and 2 toddlers to a game. Like, anytime I see little kids there, I'm like, good for you, because I'm like, absolutely. So we went to them, and I'm like, I never want to ever come off as like an entitled individual, but I'm like, can we get a little like exception as the family, because I leave for game days at 8:30 in the morning. I'm not getting home till 7 at night. So I'm like, this is a long day with no naps for children. So, me and Sarah, we teamed up together and went to the team and got us a few little perks. We have like a family room now, and we're able to bring clear backpacks into the stadium, and we can bring a stroller into the stadium. And, so I think that just it's weird to say, but being the old person on the team, like, I feel like it's my duty, and I talk to Charles about that all the time, to like help these young girls, because so many people, like I said, they get caught up in this lifestyle that they think we're supposed to be living. And I'm like, see, I'm like, it's funny because a lot of people in the NFL, yeah, you make good money, but I'm like, not everybody is making what you think. And I'm like, a lot of times you fall in as a rookie to this lifestyle that I'm like, you can't maintain that lifestyle. I laugh. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I am all about going to TJ Maxx. Like, I'm
that was actually going to be in your lightning
Maxxinista.
round, Walmart or Target, and then I forgot.
I'm a Maxxinista.
I'm a Target girl, but I'm like, that's really what it's all about. I'm like, just showing them that you don't have to change who you are to like fit this NFL wife life. I actually tell people all the time, like, I laugh at any girl, and I don't care who sees this. I'm like, well, if you put NFL wife in your bio of something, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, yeah. I was like, at the end of the day, is that how I got connected to you guys? Of course, but I'm like, there's so much more to me than just being an NFL wife. It's so I just think, though, like I said, being in the league and this being year 9 for Charles, like, just trying to, like you said, like, I feel like, I am that mom, for people, but I'm like, I would much rather a girl have me to lean on, or anything that they need. Like, I just want to help people. So it's kind of like, Charles got named a captain, right? And I'm like, he's just the most helpful person. And I think I really wore off on him, because I'm like, that's me. I'm like, I like everyone. So I think that just, I try to help everyone and be that shoulder, because there's a lot of tears during football season. So I'm like, be that shoulder you can cry on or laugh with or whatnot. So
I was gonna, can you kind of dove into that? So my last question for you is, if you have like the biggest piece of advice on someone in your position as a newly NFL wife or a new mom, or both at the same time, what would be the advice to give to someone who's trying to become someone like you?
Biggest piece of advice is still, and I mean, I tell this even to like new moms. I'm like, take care of yourself. And what I mean by that is like, make sure, like, for me, with my first child, clearly it was COVID. My second child, I went into like a severe like postpartum anxiety and started getting a depression, because clearly I was in a new area and by myself. And I was like, oh, I can't hire help, or I can't bring my kids to school. I have to do it all by myself. And I realized that, like, you can't be the best version of yourself for your, husband or your friends or your children if you're not taking care of yourself. And I think that in the league, a lot of times people, like I said, they get wrapped up into what they should be doing and whatnot. But I'm like, just stay true to yourself and making sure, you're sticking to your routine and making sure that, I remember Charles sitting me down in like 2000, it probably was like 2015. He's like, don't change. And he's like, I like you for you. And like, I mean, when he met me, I worked a lot. Like, you guys think I work now? I'm like, I worked for the Chicago Bulls. And yeah, I might have, when I tell you that game days there's a lot more basketball games than football games. So I'm like, I also worked part-time at Starbucks because I worked there forever and I just couldn't give it up. And then I was also dating this man. So I'm like, my hours were ridiculous because I lived an hour away from work. So I would leave at 6 in the morning too for work and not get home till midnight and do the whole thing again, So I think that his biggest thing was like, never change like who you are, and so I think that that's my biggest thing I'd share with anyone. And like I said, that doesn't even have to be in the NFL. Just like, don't change who you are. You don't have to change for anybody. Like, you're gonna find your group, and like that's life. And like I said, do I end up always probably getting along with the offensive line girls the most because we're like come over with your hair up in leggings and a hoodie. Let's hang out. But I'm not trying to get all dressed up to go sit in someone's living room to watch a football game. Like, be comfy. You know? That's just me. So I think just sticking to who you are. And hey, if you are that person that likes to get dressed up and do whatever, like, don't let all of us that who want to be
Right.
You do you. Yeah.
Do you?
your designer girl, I'll support you, you know? So, and I think, you know, just showing people that you don't have to judge anybody for, you know, we're all in the same position. This is, I guess, a second piece of advice is realizing that there's no, when it comes to football, like, yes, there's different teams and we compete against each other and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like women to women, like there's no competition there. Like we are all football is family, and there's always going to be a woman who has gone through the exact same thing that you have gone through. So I'm like, you don't need to have cliques. You don't need to do any of that. I'm like, because it's, let the men compete. I'm like, we're all
Exactly.
so.
You're very inspiring, Jen. You're
Yeah,
very
you really are. You really are.
We didn't even get to the doctor.
Yourself, okay? No.
Now, one of those things, last question, and then we'll let you go, is you talked a little bit about self-care there. Now, part of the self-care that you're providing for those wives is some baked goods. What's on the menu this week?
Yeah, I mean, we like baked goods. I'm just saying.
You know, I literally do. I can't, like, I have like media people that were like, hey.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, no. So I have to stay. So like I said, I don't know if you guys saw in Chicago, the same coach that said that I was too hard on Charles, his wife is the one who baked the cookies for the offensive line. And every week she would bake cookies. If they won, it was the same cookies the next week. If they lost, she would change it. So because we won, I have to make scotcheroos, which if you don't know, it's like a peanut butter Rice Krispie treat with a chocolate and butterscotch like topping to it. They're so good.
I'm about to send you my address after this interview.
Yeah. I've never had it, but I will this weekend, right?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm just hoping she's making scotcheroos for the next 17 weeks.
Week 3. In Philly, we need those for Philly. So
yeah, so I was like, we're doing scotcheroos, and I made these. It's like a cookie on the bottom, has like a layer of Oreos, and then brownie on top.
Stone, that's your favorite. That's Stoner's favorite.
Oh well, I made those for the first time, so they loved them. And then I did monster cookies, which is just like peanut butter, M&Ms, and oatmeal. So I guess
sorry, Zach Selby. Looks like we got a new big good person in town. Let's go.
Oh, that's absolutely awesome.
You know,
Jen, we want
to bring him to tailgates. I'm like, okay, guys. I was like, now that I was like, the game on the 25th, I can do it because now I can mentally prepare for it.
I gotta go.
Well, we appreciate you taking again the time out of your busy day. Everybody, this is Jen Leno, Executive Director for Beyond the Entertainer, Mama of 3 girls. She's a doctorate student, and again, you might know her because she happens to be married to a left tackle for the Washington Commanders. But we'll talk to Charles some other time. This time, it's he is Jen Leno's husband. Let's make sure we get that right.
He likes that. He actually, I'll say, he laughs at training camp when people are like, Jen, can I take a picture with you? And he's like, he's like, I can't tell you the amount of people that come up to me and be like, your wife on Twitter, and I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing. We appreciate that.
We definitely, I think most of the fans will have to say that we appreciate having somebody down to earth to interact with. And we've had a great time here with you, Miss Leno. We have a joke, inside joke with the Leno thing. So, but thank you, Jen.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. You can totally say it. When you came to the team, I was pronouncing your name as like a French person would. I never just said Leno. I was like Leno. So
Leno. Yeah,
I apologize.
A little inside baseball there, a little inside joke. But we do appreciate you jumping on here with us on Ref the District. This has been After the Whistle, and until next time, be a fan.